Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to present the new French tier 11 medium tank, the AS-XX-40t. Is this tank a worse copy of the Batchat 25T or the new star on tier 11? Let's find out in this video. So with World of Tanks 2.0, Wargaming has introduced tier 11 tanks. As I love to play flexible medium tanks, especially autoloader tanks, this was the first tier 11 tank that I unlocked. In this video, I want to tell you everything you need to know about this tank and also whether it is worth grinding or not. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So let's start with the special feature of the AS-XX-40t, and that is that you have manual control over the reload of your 5-shell clip. So as opposed to the other tanks, the other autoloader tanks like the Batchat 25T or the Batchat 25T AP or any other autoloader tank, in which you have to spend the full time to reload the whole clip, you can, with this tank, manually start the reload if you have, for example, 1 or 2 or 3 shells still left in your autoloader, or you can stop the reload if you assess that you do not have enough time. So like in this situation, we only reload 4 shells. Now I decide to continue to reload the 5th shell, but I wanted to be ready for some crossfire in case the Leopard 1 would, for example, track me. And that is the flexibility that you have in this tank as opposed to, for example, the Batchat 25T. So, for example, in this situation, I have the full clip available. I start looking out for some tanks and I start shooting those tanks, making damage. Let's see whether there is another tank that I can take a shot onto. Yes, there is. So here's the Stritzwagen, and maybe if he turns aside, then I can take a shot. No, actually I cannot. And so in this situation, maybe there's a... Okay, here's a tank. Nice. I can shoot a couple of shots. Let's try to kill this tank. Nice. And now I have 2 shells in my magazine. And I can start the reload. Of course, I have a little penalty. Once I start the reloading phase, this is basically the time where this ammunition box is lifted up, and then of course I also have a penalty when it is put down again. But as you can see, I can manually stop the reload, and in this case, as this object tank is relatively close, I elect to stop the reload. I fire 2 shells and then I fall back and continue the reload. But I still have 1 shell in my magazine. So that is the flexibility that you gain. So the question now is the AS-XX-40t, is it just a better Batchat because it offers all the advantages of the Batchat, but it does not have the disadvantage of a full clip reload? In order to answer this question, we need to take a look at the statistics of the Batchat 25T and also of the AS-XX-40t. So let's compare those 2 tanks. So first of all, with the standard ammunition, then with the premium ammunition, and then the AS-XX with the standard ammunition, and then also with the premium ammunition. As you can see, the AS-XX has a much better DPM, and once again, keep in mind that this is the more flexible tank when it comes to the reloading potential of the whole tank. Now, DPM is better, penetration value is better, alpha damage is better. So you can deal 2050 damage within 10.40 seconds, so 10.4 seconds. However, keep in mind that this tank is the stock version. So here you can see the stock values of the tank, and you can further improve most of the values of this tank. The shell velocity is a tiny touch worse compared to the Batchat. And then, aha, here is a drawback of this tank compared to the Batchat. 0.19er dispersion, which is significantly worse than compared to the Batchat. However, this tank has 8 degrees of gun depression, which you can further improve once again if you upgrade this tank. Mobility wise, it is even better compared to the Batchat. It does not have any armor, and aha, the second drawback is a much worse camo value. So this tank is not purely a pure better version of the Badger 25T. Wargaming is trying to balance out this tank with a worse shell velocity, with a much worse dispersion, and with a much worse camo value. And the camo value is a problem because with a tank like the Badger 25T and also the AS-XX, you want to be the sneaky tank who surprises your opponents and then empty your whole magazine and dealing tons of damage. This is the playstyle of this tank, and so the worse camo value is a significant disadvantage of this tank. So here's how I play this tank and how I try to overcome those significant disadvantages. Now, to begin with, this is the first time that I start playing a tank with premium consumables right from the get-go, so keep this in mind. Furthermore, I use a bond stabilizer to really increase the dispersion factors of this tank, and this way I manage to give this tank the gun handling that it deserves and that it needs to have for its particular playstyle. Furthermore, I play this tank, and I'm not kidding, I play this tank with a low noise exhaust system simply to boost the camo value of this tank because I want it to be the sneaky autoloader tank that I want it to be and that, in my opinion, it needs to be. Furthermore, I play this tank with coated optics, and with this I get the statistics that I need in order to play it just like a Badger tank, but with the much improved flexibility when it comes to reloading the tank. As you can see, my gun stats are fine, and also my concealment value is now pretty nice, 30 while stationary and 25 while on the move, plus I get this insane 508 meters of view range. And by the way, this is what I meant with upgrading the tank. As you can see, there's a lot of upgrading potential. For example, an additional 10 HP for your alpha damage, and then a bit more of HP, and so on and so forth. Some improvement for the gun stabilization, and so on and so forth. So as soon as you have fully upgraded this tank, then you will be more like a tier 10 tank and not like a tier 11 tank and not like a tier 10.5 tank. But nonetheless, with my statistics and with my equipment, how I set up the tank, I feel that this tank is super strong because it basically is a slightly improved Badger 25T, but with a much greater flexibility because it does have this wonderful special ability. Alright, first game with the AS-XX-40t. We are spawning on Himmelsdorf, so city map, and let's first of all take a look at the map and see what options we have. Spawning on Himmelsdorf with the AS-XX-40t, you have several options. You can go to this position right here and try to help you win this your team win this open field. But in my opinion, it is best to go to this position right here, because not only can you help your team to win the hill, which lets you then fall into the rear of those heavy tanks and basically enter the adversary base, but you can also start playing a bit more defensively right from the get-go and try to get crossfire to, for example, those tanks right here. So in my opinion, this is the best way to start the map, to start the game on this map with this tank. Yeah, so I want to go on top of the hill. I actually like this gameplay because not only can I start the game a bit more defensively, I can get crossfire to the G lane from this side of the map. Plus I can retreat if the adversary team is overwhelming on the hill, and so basically playing the hill offers me quite some options. Now in this case, by the way, I don't know how I did get spotted in this situation, but anyway, in this situation I have of course enough time to reload my full clip, so that is what I want to do. And now here, excellent, that's what I want to see. So nice first shot onto this tank. I even set him on fire. Excellent, there's the MX making a hardcore mistake, which is nice because now I can punish this tank. And now of course, if the FV405 moves, I have the much better gun, the much better stabilization, so I can take a shot and fall back, and he is definitely not a snapshot tank. So here you go. 4 shots and 4 hits out of this 5 shell autoloader gun, which is an excellent start, and all of a sudden we have 1700 damage. This is the strength of an autoloader tank, and every autoloader does have this insane firepower advantage. This is why I adore playing autoloaders so much. And with this tank, I even get the flexibility that I have. Maybe not the flexibility of a circlet gun, but basically it is close to a tank which has a circlet gun, because I can control the reload depending on the situation and depending on what I need in the respective situation. Alright, I have enough time to reload my full clip, so I have another 5 shells available. Here we go, let's try to kill this tank. Excellent. And so, first tank. Now there are 2 tanks in the rear of our team, which is not a problem whatsoever. I elect to move forward, and you know what? Here you go. Can I take a shot onto the gorilla? No. Maybe if this tank moves forward. Let's see. Maybe he makes this mistake. Let's see. Yes, he does. Nice. Excellent. So, bam. We can kill this tank. And here you go. You know what? Let's now try to concentrate onto those tanks. Now, I could have taken... I could have, you know, used the reload, but you know what? I want to take this tanks out, and you know what? I want to fall into the rear of this tank, because I will not be able to penetrate the frontal portion of the IS-7 successor. Okay, this shot is... it actually hit the my teammate, so okay, no problem whatsoever. But as you can see, with this improved damage per minute compared to the Badger 25T, I already made 3.5k damage within only about 3 minutes into the game, which is insane. So in my opinion, this tank is really strong. It offers the advantages of the Badger 25T. It is a tiny touch better within every regard, but Wargaming tried to balance it out with the worse concealment value and with worse gun handling. And if you can overcome those 2 drawbacks, then you get a really strong tank. A tank which is super flexible, which is an autoloader, so which has an insane firepower advantage. And in my world, it just all, you know, this tank just is what you desire in World of Tanks. Let's try to take him out. Excellent. Okay, there's an EBR. We have 1 shell left in our magazine, so let's try to... No, what? Let's go into the reload. Now, here's a good example. I will certainly not have the time to reload the full clip, so actually, okay, let's discontinue the reload because I want to make 1 shot. And due to the fact that I can actively control the reload of this tank, I could get this 1 shot in which I could take out the adversary tank. So that's the flexibility that you get with the AS-XX-40t, and so 4.5k damage approximately and 4 kills on Himmelsdorf is, I think, a good showcase of how strong this tank actually is. Alright, second game. We are spawning on Murovanka with this tank, and once again, let's first of all take a look at the map and see what options we have. Spawning on Murovanka in the south with the AS-XX-40t, you have several options. You can go to the western side and try to help win this heavy flank, but in my opinion, the most important position or the best position for this tank is actually the eastern portion, so this forest right here, because not only can you start playing a bit more defensively at the beginning, which I recommend in a tank which has not armor whatsoever, and see how the game develops, and then you can go to this position and this position and try to win this flank using your superior firepower with your autoloader tank. And then furthermore, if you've won this side of the map, basically enter the adversary base via the A lane and thus trying to win the game. So yeah, I think with this tank it is yeah, kind of mandatory, or at least by far the best option to support your team in the forest and to go to the eastern flank. Now looks like this Badger 25T is has started World of Tanks just recently, and is quite surprised by the appearance of this tank. Alright, so I want to go to this position because it gives me the opportunity to play a bit more defensively right from the get-go, and then further on I can still decide whether I want to make a more aggressive move. Keep in mind this tank does not have any armor whatsoever, so you should always try to play so that you can control the fight, meaning that you always have the possibility to retreat in case you need it, because once again you do not have any armor, every tank will penetrate you, and you want to be able to control the situation with such a tank. Now the Badger 25T, the CS-63 and the UDAS are making pressure, which is fine. The object is now also advancing. Now I want to wait a little bit, maybe I can take a shot onto this tank, but you know what, as those tanks are making hardcore pressure, I think I want to support them as much as I can. Unfortunately, Badger 25T is taking a shot and is set up on fire. Super unfortunate for us. And do I want to move in? No, okay, I'm spotted, which is not too good. But I do not want to blindly rush in and throw away my tank. Now I would like to get a shot onto the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, but when I simply move rearwards, then my tank is of course way too slow. So let's see how it goes, and let's see what they're doing. You know what, I think I can make a surprising move. So let's try to fall into the rear of those tanks. So I think I can catch them by surprise. So first shot onto the the M48 Patton. I can track him, so his turret traverse is not enough in order to take a shot onto me. And now I can use my firepower advantage. And as you can see, I have one shell left in my clip, but I can manually control the reload starting it now. And so the overall time of the reload is actually reduced. Now keep in mind you have the penalty, as I said, that it takes to lift this ammo box and to get it down then after the reload. However, with some upgrades you can further decrease this penalty, but of course this means that if you only manually reload one shell, then you still have those two penalty periods, and so it is of course much more efficient to reload all the shells than it is to reload only a couple of shells. But nonetheless, this kind of gives you the flexibility that you have, for example, in an auto reloading tank. And the penalty in an auto reloading tank usually is that it takes quite long to reload the last shell, for example in the Progetto 65T, for example. So in my opinion, this tank is excellent when it comes to flexibility, because not only do you have the insane firepower advantage of an autoloader, but you can also manually control the reload, as I've said multiple times now in the video. But it is really fun to play this tank. So I want to go to this bush because I want to spot tanks in case, for example, that the Badger 25T is advancing over the A lane. So let's see how it goes. Meanwhile, I can take all the time that I need in order to reload my clip. And then I would like to see the Object 268 advancing, because he has the much better frontal armor compared to the CS-63 and also my tank. Now the CS-63 is advancing. Looks like he does not take any damage, and so that is the point in time where I also want to advance. Keep in mind the game is relatively close, and so yeah, here's the situation in which we can take out the gorilla, voila, and then in which we can also take a shot onto I think it was the Taschenratte, right? Yeah, so we cannot take a shot onto the Stritzwagen because he's turning around. Here you go, and then here's the Taschenratte, and of course with 263 millimeters of pen, I can pen the side of this tank, and even if he turns around slightly, I can take him out. Alright, so let's use the flexibility of this tank, as I showed you before, and then let's try to reload, but only one shell, which is enough actually to get a shot onto the batched. So let's start with 3 shells. Here you go, and okay, I have 2. Okay, here you go. There's the other tank that I can take out with 2 shots, and bam. And so I have 1 shell left for the batched. However, I want to fall back so that I'm not spotted anymore. And of course, I do not want to eat the whole clip of the AS-XX-40t of the adversary team, just like the CR63 is doing. Instead, I want to reload the full clip, giving myself the firepower advantage that I need in this situation, and then I can once again advance. But now, as there are only 3 tanks available, I chose not to reload the full clip and only advance with 3 shells in my clip. So do not hit the first one, because if I would have reloaded the whole clip, I would not have taken any shot onto those tanks. Unfortunately, we cannot make any more damage, but with 3.9k damage, I think another fantastic result in this tank. And finally, third and last game in the AS-XX-40t, we are spawning on Serene Coast, and let's first of all take a look at the map and see what options we have. Spawning on Serene Coast in the north, this is how the game usually develops, and with the AS-XX-40t you have several options. You can first of all go here and take over the light role and try to spot the heavy tanks approaching the southern position. You can then of course go to the southern lane and conduct second line gameplay with your autoloader gun and try to help win this flank. But in my opinion, the most important position is the C1 position right here in the north. So I would go to this position and try to help win this position, as once again, in my opinion, it is the most important position on this map. So of course I want to try to win the C1 position. And now there is another important advantage of this tank compared to the batched 25T, and that is gun depression. I have 8 degrees of gun depression. I think with upgrading the tank you can further improve this to 9 degrees of gun depression, and this is much better compared to the 6 degrees of the batched 25T. And so this lets me play much more comfortably at the C1 position on this map. And so with my superior firepower, I want to try to win this position. Now, first of all, I want to spot tanks, but I do not want to get revealed, because I do not want to eat any shots. And here you go, there's an AMX-50B driver. Looks like he's pushing out aggressively. He's destroying my gun, so let's reload the gun. I simply fall back, and now he is susceptible to all the other guns of my team. So his play was way too aggressively, and of course I can now easily pen him because his turret is super weak. He's taken out, excellent. So super nice start. And looks like this Super Conqueror is falling back, and now I want to take shots into his rear. Now this shot actually did not hit. Unfortunately, he is actually smart and he has turned the turret towards us. Maybe one other shot. I can track him. Nice! And I get 1000 assisting damage with tracking this tank. Excellent. So now it's time to reload the gun and take a look at the other side of the map. Looks like those tanks are advancing aggressively. So I think it is time to relocate and to fall back and to set up a strong defensive position out of which we can hold the advance of the other side of the map. Yeah, wrong way here. I need to go to our cap and to the insanely strong position that you all know. So let's see. So far 1.2k damage, 2.1k assisting damage with this wonderful track shot onto the Super Conqueror. So let's see how it goes. Clip is reloaded, excellent. Mobility on this tank is super nice. With my bounty stabilizer, the gun handling is super nice. You get 410 if you upgrade the tank, 420 alpha damage with the 5 shell autoloader. So this tank is just nice. And with my exhaust system, I am really sneaky, and so I have all the benefits in World of Tanks apart from having armor. But I personally prefer a mobile tank much more compared to a tank which is slow but which has a certain amount of armor. So okay, first 2 shells do not hit. And now the question is, yeah, in this situation, you can simply reload those 2 shells and then appear where the fight takes place with the fully reloaded clip. So we want to reload this clip, and then we want to help out the Badger with simply flanking this tank. And voila, our clip is reloaded, and that is what I want to see. So we damn it, we drive into the Badger 25T, plus we bounce the first shot, which is super unfortunate. So let's try to evade out of this situation. Of course, we want to start reloading the tank. Once again, this is the flexibility. We still have 2 shells in the magazine, but we can, of course, start the reloading phase. And then once again, we will appear where the fight takes place with a fully reloaded clip. And this is, like, I cannot overemphasize this. This is such an advantage compared to the Badger 25T and all the other autoloader tanks. So this is what makes this tank so strong. And if you can overcome all the drawbacks that this tank brings with it, then yeah, in my opinion, it is actually a super strong tank. So 1 shot onto the gorilla. Once again, I want to reload because I have enough time on my way to the remaining tanks, and then I can chase down the gorilla and also the FB, hopefully. So here you go. FB is behind this little rock, so I can easily take 2 shots onto the gorilla, taking him out, and then I still have enough time to take a shot onto the FB. Now, yeah, I want the VZ to advance and indicate me where the FB is situated. And so here you go. He's now taken a shot, so this means about 17 seconds of reload time of the FB, giving me enough time of actually destroying this tank with my remaining shells. Excellent. So once again, this is the flexibility of this tank. Now let's try to reload the clip, and here I made a little mistake because I did not pay attention to what has happened on the other flank, and so I was on the mindset that I need to hurry up in order to get more damage before we win the game. But as you can see here, the adversary Badger actually managed to win the other side of the map. There is the can opener who did not spot me, which is good. But by the way, clip is reloaded, and I cannot take a shot onto the BZ-79. And the problem is, yeah, here is the AS-XX-40t taking a shot onto me. I can take a shot onto him, but he can take me out. Alright, anyway, in this game, 3.5k damage, 2.3k assisting damage, so about 5.9k combined, which is an excellent result. And I think a decent showcase of the flexibility of this tank. In my opinion, it is a wonderful tank, and I can really recommend to grind this tank, because not only does it have all the advantages of the Badger 25T, it also gives you the most flexibility that you can have on an auto-loading tank. Plus, if you can overcome the drawbacks, i.e. the gun handling and also the camo value with some equipment, then you do not have any disadvantages whatsoever in this tank, but you get all the advantages. So this tank is super fun to play. I really adore playing it, and I can really recommend it to everybody. Alright guys, that was it for today with my review of the AS-XX-40t, the new French tier 11 medium tank. What do you think about this tank? Do you think it is an interesting tank? Do you think my review was helpful? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.